think we are looking all right. Okay, the optimistic. We're going live now. Hello, everyone. How are we all today? And again, I do apologize for the slight delay. Just trying to get YouTube configured. It's been a while. It's been a while, people. Do you remember what it looked like? Hi. Wow. Things are happening, aren't they? Today's archery juice is just plain orange juice. You know, I actually don't like orange juice that much. I much prefer apple juice. But when you have a lot of apple juice, you kind of get sick of it, or you kind of crave other juices. And for me, I'm craving orange juice. So here we go. How are we all? You know, I used to live stream like every day or something, so haven't got off the radar for about a month. It feels weird. I was planning on doing a string live stream yesterday or something, but I just didn't have time to get it together. Lots of stuff happening at the moment. So, how are your people? Wow, I've been live for like 2 seconds and I've got like 10 questions lined up already. So, hello everyone, welcome back to my Q&A. And let's go through our immediate question. So I've got a few things I want to update, but I'll save that for afterwards. I've got a few questions lined up, but let's do the immediate ones first. So let's go through the immediate questions. Wow. Am I following the Olympic Games? No, I'm not at the moment. I don't really watch TV in general, so I don't really follow up on sports. And the Olympic Games is really kind of something I don't really follow. But hi. You have many questions, Mitch. Fantastic. I might save the. Let's do a quick Q&A now, and I'll go through the prepared questions, and then we'll go through your questions again. So let's go through the immediate questions. Let's go through, and what can we do here? Let's go to mini questions. Great. Toro Dash, why do some people use the thumb release? This is a very easy question to answer. The thumb release or the thumb draw it depends on what style of archery you do. The thumb release was primarily used by the Oriental archers or the Asiatic archers. The reason why thumb release is popular, well, it's kind of like what came first, chicken or egg kind of thing, right? So you have very short bows, which are made from composite materials, which were appropriate for horseback and would best be used with a single digit, because the very short length of the bow means that you couldn't really draw it back with 2 or 3 fingers. So the thumb draw became very popular. In addition, the thumb draw would allow the archer to keep the arrow on the bow when riding on horseback, something which someone using a 3-finger Mediterranean draw might struggle with. So culturally, the Mediterranean draw was probably more used by foot archers in the Mediterranean area or European area, and the thumb draw was more used in the Eastern cultures where horse archery was more popular. That's why people use thumb draw. That's the first question out of the way. Holy crap, people, take it easy. Video on clickers. I already have a video on clickers. How does Lars Anderson curve his arrows? He does so by knocking the arrow extremely off center. I don't have a demonstration here at the moment, but if you can imagine, I'm gonna grab a Samix Sage. Alright, this is not what you need to use to bend an arrow, but it's technically possible, I guess. So what he does is that instead of knocking the arrow at the center of the string, he knocks the arrow far above that. So he'll actually shoot very asymmetrically this way. And of course, he's using a thumb draw, a pinch draw. So he does it by having about a hand or so upwards, knocks it here, and it's basically defeating the archer's paradox in a lot of ways. So he is front loading a lot of the weight onto the front of the arrow. That's a very bad explanation. Let's try again. He basically overwhelms the arrow's natural tendency to correct itself by shooting off center. That's how he bends it around things. He doesn't really bend it around corners. What he actually does is let's say the camera's like, I'm gonna shoot it around the camera. He'll basically change the nodes where the arrow oscillates, so that it basically goes around this way, corrects in flight, then flies back on target. Bit of a trick shot, but can be done. That's the simple explanation. I actually want to try it one day. I just haven't had time to do so recently, but that's something I might look into very shortly. Whoa, okay. Next, wow, geez, people are really on board today. What got me to archery? One of my friends said there's an archery club nearby. I didn't believe him. It was right next to my workplace. That's my club right now. So it's basically a random trial. Like, we weren't doing anything. We thought we'd give it a shot, and here we are. No, there's no real like rationale. I didn't have a passion for archery. I didn't really like archery. Never really did it. Actually, I never did archery before I did archery at the club. So proper archery. A lot of people go to camp and do archery. I don't think I ever did archery beforehand. So I guess my origin story is a bit more direct. I just tried it, and there I am. No epic origin story there. I will be going through the questions from the page, Pico Pyro. I'm just going to go through the immediate questions here. Whoa, hi Shalasa, hi Byron. Target panic, overcoming. Good luck with that. I haven't. That's a tough thing. That is so psychological. I mean, it's like having the yips. Overcoming target panic is going to be tremendously difficult. A lot of it is pushing through the barrier. It's a mental barrier. So things like blind bow shooting, short distance shooting, even going bare bow. If you're using sights, it might go bare bow for a bit, just to kind of break the thought of using a sight. And I've been through this already myself. Just having target panic can really ruin things. I have no scientific way of getting through it. You've really got to just power through that slump. It's very easy to give up then. When did I start archery, Matthew? About 6.5 years ago. Overwolf, you've joined Archery Australia. Well done. Hope you enjoy your long archery career. Mark Hopkinson, what is the length, the long rod length? Is it trial and error? Kind of. Check out my video on everything you need to know about stabilizers. It's basically feel. You do kind of want a balance point, but definitely check out my stabilizer video. I explain in more detail in that one. Where did the pinch release come from? The earliest bows were probably shot from a pinch draw. So looking at the Stone Age and Neolithic period, we definitely know that during the time of the Assyrians and the Egyptians and the ancient Greeks, the pinch draw was popularly used. Bear in mind that it was best used for lighter bows. It was possible to shoot a heavier bow using a secondary or tertiary release, but the pinch draw was mostly used for light bows, and the bows were used for hunting. Occasionally, like a skirmisher or pelters might use a bow, but they weren't the same bows that people use as warfare. So the pinch draw was one of the earlier draw types, and it was basically disused apart from, I think, the Native Americans and a few other tribes, but it was mostly an early form of archery draw as far as I know. Why did I start shooting horsebow? Because it's just one of the things which I wanted to do. Like, I'm the sort of person who prefers to upskill laterally rather than upwards. I'm not the sort of person who excels in one particular thing particularly well. Whereas I have a diverse skill set rather than an intensive skill set. Extensive over intensive. Horsebows, thumb draw, just knowing how to do so could really open my mind up to the possibilities of archery. I could live in ignorance and shoot Olympic recurve all the time, but now I shoot Olympic recurve. I do trad bare bow. I do horsebow, and I think it's a great thing to do to vary things up. Where else I? Well, having a lot of things here. Try and tag my name, by the way. Can I review the KU win fight? I don't have one. If I get one, I will. How do I feel about full fiberglass half recurve? I'm not sure what you're referring to exactly. Charles Sexton. And Player Hunter. Maybe I've missed the question here. You gotta repeat the question in one block. I've missed the first part there. Ryan, what's the physical difference between a hollow aluminium arrow and a traditional wooden arrow? Aluminium is obviously stronger. You can have a stronger spine for a thinner diameter. The wooden shafts are much harder to get a good tune for. Aluminium is manufactured in much greater varieties, both in shaft diameter and in the thickness of the shaft walls. Carbon, to a greater extent, is manufactured with more precision. Wooden arrows tend to be less consistently straight, they tend to be more fragile, and they're much harder to find a perfect match for. This is why a lot of trad styles will have techniques which help mitigate poor spine. Khatra is the contentious debate where some people will say that people shoot using khatra when shooting a thumb draw will basically allow the bow to move away from the arrow before release. So that's something to think about. Wooden arrows are mostly a ballpark figure. Do I plan on using a horse with the horse bow? No, I don't have a horse. And that's our initial wave of questions. Let's go to the actual prepared questions. Whoa, that was a marathon right there, people. Thanks a lot for that. Let's go through the ones I had prepared. So I've got my Facebook questions as well as the questions from the YouTube community page. Let's go through a few quick ones over here. So one quick question from Tyler Henshaw. Have I done bow fishing? No, I haven't. I'm not interested. I don't think it's legal here in our state, so I can't really do so. So no comment there. Is it possible to get an ambidextrous riser for a bow other than traditional? Say for practicing both Mediterranean and Mongolian horse bows. Yes, the PC Snake is probably the most well known. That is a fiberglass recurve that has arrow rest on both sides. It is purposely designed to be ambidextrous. It's a bit better than your average youth bow because the youth fiberglass bows have no arrow rest per se. The PC Snake does have an arrow rest on the shelf and it's on both sides, so you can do that. Sean Blank, does eyesight matter? If you can see the target, great. Even if you wear spectacles or bifocals, as long as you can see the target, you can shoot. The only difficulty is if you can't actually see the target, then you're going to have a very hard time. Archery is very visual, although there are visual impaired forms of archery. That's a bit different. You have this kind of bright, high-vis, fluffy ball in front of your face, and you have to aim at that instead, and you adjust the big fluffy ball so that you can hit the target. So it's a bit different. Matthews, when you shoot both left and right horsebow, would it be better to train one side than the other side, or mix them up, say, every other week? That's up to you. If you want to be an ambidextrous archer, then train both equally. Most people have a preferred dominant side, and that's what they shoot most of the time. So if you want to shoot both sides, then that's your routine, and you decide what's best for you. And Meander, do you make different choices for arrows used for outdoor target compared to indoor target? I personally don't, because I don't shoot indoor, but a lot of people do. Do know that if you watch the World Indoor Championships, you will see some archers will use intentionally indoor sets, so very thick shafts to get those line cutters, but a lot of archers will use their outdoor set, so they use the narrow diameter X10s, for example, possibly because the bow is perfectly tuned with that set of arrows, and they don't want to mess around with a second set of arrows just for indoor, and they shoot just fine with the smaller diameter shafts. That's a Facebook page done. Wow, people, this is a huge spread because a lot of people are asking questions here. I'm gonna have a quick drink break. Whoa. Alright, okay. Drink break time. Let's get back to my list of questions here. How to know which spine is good for you, Toro Dash. We'll be doing a video on arrow spines and choosing arrows at some point, but I just haven't had time to film it. All my filming time is now training time. But to answer that question, arrow charts. You measure your draw length and the length of arrows you need. You take your effective draw weight at your draw length. So use a draw weight scale to pull it back and measure how it would be. Then match that weight with the arrow chart. If you're buying an Eastern arrow, check the Eastern arrow charts. If you're buying Carbon Express, check their arrow charts and so on. So match your weight and arrow length in the chart. That will generate a spine rating. Match that up with an arrow from that manufacturer, and that should be a reasonably close match. You will need to fine tune it using bare shaft and or paper tuning, but that's how you find the spine, is you consult the charts. That's what shops do. So I mean, even if someone asks me what I can't answer the question, you know, if you're using a 40-pound sage, I can't recommend an arrow spine. You need to check it yourself, because we do miss on a few things. Advice for people, Ryan, who build DIY bows. I have no advice. I don't do DIY, I don't do PVC, so I can't really help you there. Peter Strommeyer, you are well, I'm an Olympic archer, but can I create videos shooting an aerial target? I can't do so. I have no space where I can shoot aerial. I can't do it in my range. There's no safety features which allow me to do so. I've got plenty of distance, but I've got no way to actually launch a target. Like, I have no one to throw a foam target or something up. So it's interesting. I can't do it, and I have no means to do so. Am I planning to shoot my horseback ambidextrously? No, I'm not. I'm not gonna go near ambidextrous shooting. Although I might shoot a trad bow left-handed just for fun, but I don't have any particular incentive to shoot ambidextrously. Do I think the PC Optima is a good beginner bow? Yes, it's not a very common or popular model or brand for recurve bows, but it is something which a beginner would find useful. Wow. Yeah, Byron, the legally blind Korean archer, it's not the target was a blur to him per se. It's basically like the straw vision. So he can't see anything around the spot, but he can see the spot. So it's not aiming at a blur, he's aiming at basically what this is. So you can see, like, you can't see anything else for that guy. In fact, in some ways it's advantageous. I could be wrong this one though, so I might want to double check that. Where am I? Wow. Could juice increase accuracy? Probably not. Some sort of exotic yellow archery. It's an orange archery juice. Guess what? It's orange juice. Purple Feather 06. I have a competition tomorrow. This is my first competition. And advice: have fun. Your first competition, find what makes it fun. Whether it's a personal challenge or the social experience, the first thing you do is find a sweet spot. Some people take it very seriously, nothing wrong with that. Some people will just want to enjoy it, nothing wrong with that. Remember that you're only shooting what you normally do, okay? So you don't exceed your best, you shoot what you normally do. Many people will shoot a bit worse than what they normally do. That's okay. Just focus on one shot at a time. Trust yourself, trust your bow, trust your sight settings if you're shooting with sights, and just let the shots happen. If you're not consistent enough to shoot at the distance and your arrows are spraying everywhere, as long as they're mostly on the board, you're okay. So try not to force yourself to shoot exceptionally well. Just let it happen, okay? And afterwards you can improve and you can become better that way. Play Hunter, the Outback. Do you know what the Outback is? Okay, I'm in the middle of a city. The Outback is around, it's what, a day's drive away, and even then, right, I still don't have a way to launch a target. I don't have anyone to help you out here. I'm a solo person, so it might be fun, but look, to get to the effort of driving out to the middle of nowhere, like literally the middle of nowhere, not some kind of farm, but the Outback, really, to go all the way out there and have no idea what I'm doing, what's the point, right? There's no point in me doing trick shooting or throwing plates or whatever if I can't do it. Like, it's better to do it inside the controlled space, not outside in the middle of nowhere, because that's a waste of a drive, as it is. Overrated in my opinion. There are some things I feel strongly about. I'm a target shooter, and I don't want to waste time doing stuff which I don't really care about, even if people want to do so. So I'm not particularly interested in that. Ryan, how to progressively advance and draw weight. You can pull beginner bow, but can't go anywhere within 18 pounds. your initial growth using a thumb grip. Okay, your initial growth in using a bow will take a few months. Keep on shooting your bow and shoot regularly. It takes time for your muscles to build up. You can't accelerate that. You can do additional exercises. So if you're not shooting daily, you can use stretching bands. You can use holding exercises on your bow. Basically, pull it back and let it down carefully. But you can't accelerate strength training. You've got to give it time. That said, if you skip training days, then you won't see the gains. It has to be consistent, regular training for you to become confident in using a heavier bow. But it has to take time. Isn't Australia basically 90% middle of nowhere? No, it's not. Look, you know, the majority of the population live in coastal areas. I'm in that in that center of a population. Like, can I drive? I could probably drive an hour outside of the city and then find some random spot, but it's not necessarily legal. I mean, if I had someone who had like a farm or property outside, that's even easier. But I don't know anybody who has property outside. A lot of people do. I don't personally know anyone. And again, I don't care enough to go to the effort of driving an hour outside of town to throw plates in the air. I can do it at my own field. It's just stupid. Okay. Alright, do I have a problem with brown snakes? Not where I live particularly, but they are known to be in the area. But just by things like tall grass is a big problem. So when the council doesn't mow the lawn and the grass grows high, we actually do have concerns about that. Okay, let's go to Factorio. I've watched people play Factorio. I haven't played it myself. Not really interesting in the game. Not my sort of thing. Man, people have some weird perceptions about Australia. Like, I know we're mostly empty and desert, but you know that doesn't mean like I live in the middle of nowhere. Farms in Australia are massive. Yes, they are. How do you treat sore muscles due to practice? Purple. Rest. That's it. If you're sore, don't overtrain. Just rest. You've got to give yourself time. Your muscles will develop and go stronger during the rest period, not by overtraining. It's a good sort of pain. No pain, no gain. That's kind of what it means. All right, let's go to our YouTube questions now. So we have around 20 questions from the YouTube side, and then we'll go back to our Q&A. Sorry guys, this is I know this is rushing through it, but we've got so much stuff to answer that I want to give everyone a quick answer where possible. Okay. No, Player Hunter. Australia isn't that dangerous. It's a stereotype. We kind of make fun of it. It's a meme, alright? So it's not like there's a giant kangaroo, jumping spider, or drop bear like around every corner. So it's not like I live in a city, okay? I'm not living like where taipan snakes crawl around and kill you by looking at you. It's not that place. So it's not like, I know people don't know about Australia very much, but it's not that kind of place. I live in the middle of the city. Okay, it's like saying that you know, is every American a Texas rancher? Okay, it doesn't make sense. All right, back to the questions. So from the YouTube side, actually I might let's actually flash the Firefox page up. Let's do this. I'm gonna cancel a few things, and I think we're good here. Let's switch to the Firefox side. Yeah, it works. Cool. Excellent. All right, let's close that. So these were the questions from Facebook. I actually should have done the Facebook one this way, but I forgot about that. So the YouTube side. All right, so Lone Wolf Inkworks. I've been looking for a good string wax. What would you recommend? Any string wax will work fine. Just pick. I use Flex because it has scented string wax, but any string wax is fine. There's no brand I'd recommend. Use whatever you want. Snot works fine. What type of arrows are best from Lee Bumper or Lead Bumper? Depends on what you're shooting. I can't answer that question. Depends on what you shoot. Nate from Average Jack. This is an interesting one here. How imperative is it to follow eye dominance? All right, I'm gonna pause for this because this is a pretty big question. So how important is it? This is so contentious that I can't give a straight answer. It used to be people went for hand over eye dominance. The current trend is eye dominance over hand. That might change. It's so based on the individual that you can't say this works for everybody. Some people just simply cannot use the other hand to shoot. The musculature is wrong, it's lopsided, they lack the upper body strength in the opposite hand, their coordination with the opposite hand is just too poor. It's like, imagine trying to do artwork with the opposite hand. That's the delicacy, or the delicateness you need to shoot a bow, and some people just can't do that because it's just too awkward for them. Most people find it easy to learn opposite hand, let's put it that way. So that's why eye dominance tend to be more preferred when getting someone fitted out of a bow. Their initial tendency will be to shoot with their dominant hand, but once they find their eye dominance, they normally switch hands earlier. Because again, most people can learn to use the opposite hand. Most people can learn to write with the opposite hand. I'm right-handed. I can write left-handed. I spent like a week practicing and months practicing using crosswords, and I write with both hands on the whiteboard fairly fluently. Still strong on my right hand, but you can overcome non-dominant hand weakness. So that's something which takes time. Most people can't transfer to opposite eye. It can be done, but it's very tricky, and most people can't do so. But it depends on the person. Alright, next question. Back to the Firefox side. Save the questions, guys. I'm going to have to go through these ones first. So that's the average text question. So most people find changing hand strength or dominance easier. Right, Patrick. What's this question here? Is my draw length what it sounds like? Distance draw the string, or is it measured from an anchor point to some location on the right? So it's draw length is from the it is from your anchor point to the throat of the riser. And let me show you. Sorry. So same stage, coming up. All right. So when you draw back with your bow, you would measure to basically this point. So I'm just going to try and do that. You'd measure to that point there. If you turn it around, that's basically where the plunger button would be. And that would also be the same spot as the throat of the grip. So if you pull it back, you measure from where you anchor to where this point is. And that's basically your draw length. That's how you measure it. Whoa, alright. I know 3Clicks Philip. I don't know 3Clicks Philip. I know he's a CS player. I subscribed to him a couple of times, but I don't really watch him as much. It's more for his content rather than him as a person. Alright, have I shot PVC bows? No, I haven't. I have no opinion of them. There's more questions from Patrick. Yeah, so that's the draw length. And what is a good feather size for indoor shooting? Probably, indoor. You can get away with larger feathers. So maybe like the 50mm size will work fine. And what a good outdoor recurve shooting thin arrows, and I'd say start with the cheapest one. Things like the Carbon Express Predators are really good. Eastern Carbon ones are very good. Eastern Apollos are quite good as well. So any cheap carbon would be fine for outdoor. But again, like once you start getting serious, a lot of these cheap arrows will suffer in wind. So you do have to keep that in mind. The Comical Gamer. What is the best way to represent your country in the Olympics in archery? By winning, I guess, and not being a dick about it. But if you're being serious about the question, I think the question is, what's the best way to get into the national team? You have to be Olympic recurve. You can't shoot compound. If you want to shoot compound and represent the national team, you can do so through the World Championships, but you can't do so through Olympic Games. Not yet, anyway. To make the national team, you will need to basically look up what you need to qualify. This varies by country, but basically you will have to shoot ranking rounds. You will have to compete and do well in state, regional, national tournaments. And then you might be invited to try out for the national team, where you might receive high performance coaching. It just depends on like what country you're in. Some countries have a very strong archery circuit, so there are plenty of events and competition. Other countries, it's much more amateur, so it's kind of like you have to kind of train yourself severely, like seriously, to perform well, and then you might get the results to get you invited into a state or national team. That is my response there for that one. Back to our list. Can I list a few quality budget sites and bow combinations for beginner hunter with a recurrent compound? No. Look, I can't. Quality and budget don't really match in terms of the description. This doesn't make sense to me here. I know you're trying to ask here, but I can't recommend some of the top, especially hunting. I don't do hunting. Beginner hunting doesn't make sense either. It's not really something beginners do. Beginners don't hunt. You gotta shoot target first. And like, no, this is a vague question. I can't really give you combinations. What is your thought on the thumb slightly behind and under your ear for accurate anchor point? That can help. This is more so for the old Soviet style shooting. So Victor Rubin, for example, is well known to anchor behind here. And Michele Frangilli also does that. The reason why people shoot like this, and not so much these days, but this anchor where you draw and anchor here, this is the rationale behind this, and this is according to Frangilli's The Heretic Archer, is the anchor point is more important than the draw. Okay, so in a certain school of archery, in a certain style, more dominant in Eastern Europe back then, getting this consistent was far more important than getting it consistently down here. Because down here, most archers can shoot fine like this, but the other way of doing so was to basically ignore the whatever comes with this, anchor back here. Because when you anchor here, you can't be pulled forward. Many archers will anchor, and then they'll struggle to control the back tension and be pulled forward by the bow. The thumb behind the ear basically locks your hand so it can't go forward. You can still collapse, of course, but there's no it minimizes that tendency to collapse in the shot. So you basically anchor here and then you let go. It actually makes a lot of sense. It's not taught these days. I'm not sure why it's not taught these days, but the current trend is more the conventional anchor. I guess mostly because the process of the one direction draw and the expansion is more important and effective than focusing on the anchor. So that's why it's kind of gone out of vogue then. Alright, wow, lots of good questions going on. Back to Firefox. Alright, so that was the thumb behind the ear. I might talk about it in a different video, but that's the quick answer. Is there a standard distance you should have from grip to string? There is no standard distance. Every bow is slightly different. Check the manufacturer and the manual. I can't say, for example, 7-inch brace height or 8-inch brace height. Depends on what kind of bow. So there's no standard distance. Tycho, is there a large difference between normal vanes and spin wings? No, there isn't. There is a difference, but it's not a huge difference. It can help make a good shooter shoot better, but it doesn't make a bad shooter shoot well. Rain, can you suggest Shibuya XL? Both are good, can't recommend one over the other. Living Grim, how can I stay informed when my club only shoots once a week? You don't have a place to practice. That's a very good question. Spend a bit more time on that. So, once a week is not enough to maintain form. You reach a plateau, basically. That's what I used to do with my club. It's once a week. Not enough. Nowhere near enough. You have to shoot 2, 3, 4 times a week to improve. Twice might maintain. 3, 4 times will improve. If you can't shoot on at a location, there are a few things you can do. You can focus on strength training during the non-shooting days, and that can help you stay conditioned for actual shooting. But if you're trying to pick up shooting form, what you need to do is make a space to shoot. You don't need a lot of space. You basically just, even like 1 meter away, if you're not using stabilizers, but 1, 2, 3 meters away inside your house, put like a foam block. You might have a backstop if you want to, but literally you only need 2 meters to practice shooting. Even it only means shooting at literally point blank 1 hour at a time. That's still better than nothing. So think of a way in which you can use the space you have to practice. Good example of this is Justin Ma in some of his videos. Actually, I'm gonna just show you this because I mean, firstly, thumb draws look fantastic, but Justin demonstrates this quite well visually. So let's have a look at what he does. I want to flip over to Firefox just in a moment, but to answer this question, I want you to pay attention to this. All right. So if you look at Justin's indoor practice space, and we'll flip over right about now. Bing. Okay, so a look at Justin's indoor space. His target is literally over here. So when you see him shoot, he will draw it back, and then it's just over here on the right side. There, see, that's literally where his target is. And that is a very good demonstration of how you don't need much space in order to practice. This is all you really need. So if you're trying to find a way to practice without going to the range, find a way in which you can put like a foam target on a chest or on a desk or something and just shoot very close. You cannot miss at 1 meter away, and if you are missing at 1 meter away, maybe archery isn't for you. Wow. Sorry guys, I'm going through questions really quickly, but as you can see, I've got a lot of questions to go through, and I haven't touched the live questions yet. So, back to the Firefox questions. So, fluffy sheep. Alright, so, low tier French tanks. They suck. Good luck with that. Fluffy sheep. How do you safely unstring a bow? I demonstrate this in my stringing videos. Basically the same method backwards. If you can string a bow safely using a bow stringer, do the same thing and you unstring the bow. Don't try to take the string off, just start the string down the tip, but if you can safely string a bow, you can safely unstring a bow. It's the exact same thing. So, yeah, I'm not sure why the question exists, but there you go. Wow, okay. Pickle Pyro, what exercises do you do to strengthen your shoulder blades? I recommend SPT. It's basically a lot of the Olympic archers will use Kisickley's SPT program. I want to show you this. I want to do a video on this at some point, but I don't demonstrate it very well. But let's have a look here. Where is SPT? Here we go. Alright. This is the official website, but unfortunately it's... I want to show a different way, but let's have a look. So, SPTs, Kisickley's SPTs, or specific purpose training, there are 4 exercises. Exercise 1 is endurance. You basically hold the bow at full draw for around 35 seconds to 70 seconds, depending on your endurance. You want to push through and try to improve your endurance. So you hold for 30 seconds, you rest for 30 seconds. You do a few, like 5 to 10 reps. Basically, you need to advance. So while it recommends 10 reps, you work with what you can do. Takes around 30 minutes. Power and strength is basically come to full draw, let down right away, full draw, let down. I'll show you this a bit later. Third one is flexibility. You basically draw an extra 1 to 1.5 centimeters further than what you normally do and hold that for a bit. And structure. I don't normally do this because it looks really weird. This is mostly for the Olympic bows, but you can do this with any bow. These techniques work well for any kind of archery. It's mostly for the Olympic style, but if you want to improve your strength and endurance, this is a very reliable way to get that up there. I've shown people this who are just starting out, people who are shooting 15, 20 pound, 25 pound bows, and they improve tremendously. It's a very, for someone starting out and wants to accelerate to 30 pounds straight away, it's a very good way to do so. I'll demonstrate this technique to you, okay? So I'll show this to you live just a couple of times. I'll probably some hydration. It's been quite warm the last few days and humid, so that's why I'm really sculling down the juice. So using my Samick Sage, sitting down, which is kind of silly. So exercise 1 is endurance, basically full draw, and then you hold for 35 seconds. I should have timed this, but yeah, hold. And you will shake, alright? This is a very simple exercise. Just basically just hold a full draw. If you can't make 30 seconds, do 10, 15, 20. Whatever it takes to start making improvements, right? And 30 seconds feels like a freaking long time when you're doing this. Okay, then you rest. give yourself 30 seconds to rest. And as you do this, you gradually increase the length you hold. You might only hold for 20 seconds, then move to 30, 35, 40, do 60 seconds, do 70 seconds. More than that you don't really need, but you're basically improving the endurance. That's one way to improve your muscles. The second the second training, strength. So again, what you do, full draw, anchor, and then back to pre-draw. So pre-draw, full draw, pre-draw, full draw. Very much like weight training. This is very much weight training. This is what you do. You do, what, 10 reps, which I'm not counting. If you can't do 10, slow it down. Do 6, 7. And then have a break. Have a 30-second break. And then you do it again. Do like 5 sets, 10 sets. You work on that. And the last one is flexibility. It says to draw like 1 centimeter past the clicker. If you're not using a clicker, you're shooting trad for example, easy enough. Draw to full draw, then go a bit further, and then let down. Full draw, a bit further, and let down. And repeat that for a few reps and a few sets. So basically, each exercise, if you do a full set, will take around half an hour. That's why people don't like doing SPTs, because it takes a lot of time to do. But training isn't meant to be fun. It's meant to get you match fit. Whoa, I'm tired. Now, seriously, if you actually do this regularly, you will see huge gains in your archery conditioning. The fact that I haven't done this regularly is the reason why I'm out of form. So, seriously, those are, yeah, play hunter, it's basically rows. That's what it is. You're using a bow, and the reason why the bow works well for you is because you're already using it. You're using the exact muscles you need to use a bow. Rowing is the same sort of thing, but exactly, it's the same sort of training routine. Alright, I don't want to do it again on live. Back to our questions. We close that, we close that, we close that. Alright, it's me. Streamception. Alright, Dolby, you have a shrewd flex scope on a Shibuya Ultimate sight and use the green fiber. How can I prevent this fiber from sliding around all the time? My archery shop melted the ends on the fiber to prevent it from falling out. That's what you do. You kind of answer your own questions. You get a lighter and you melt the fiber so it doesn't fall out. That's, you kind of answer your own question. Dapper Wolf, is the 2-finger grip bad? The reason why the 2-finger grip, some people do shoot with 2-finger grip, and it's okay for a light draw weight, but with a heavier bow, a 2-finger draw is very strenuous on the fingers. And what that means is that even if you can draw with 2 fingers, your release is normally going to be not as clean as a 3-finger release. You might think, oh yeah, 3 fingers means there's more inconsistency. Actually, because 2 fingers will struggle more on the string, it's more likely that you snag your fingers because you're carrying more weight on each finger. With 3 fingers, the 3rd finger does have a very important balancer. It might be 30%, 40%, and then, 30, 40, and 30. You might have 40, 50, and 10, depending on your preferences and the way you anchor and draw. But the fact that the ring finger takes off a percentage of the weight gives you far more control on the release than if you use 2 fingers. Again, some people will shoot with 2 fingers and they'll shoot okay, but basically every skilled shooter and every experienced shooter will use 3 fingers. 4, you don't use 4 because the pinky finger basically adds nothing to the technique, so it's a very weak finger. It doesn't help you control the weight. Alright. Wow. Okay. Next. Adele. How different is Japanese archery, Kyudo, from traditional archery? Kyudo is like a style in itself. It has nothing to do with traditional archery. If you talk about like Western traditional archery, it's completely different. Remember that Kyudo is not war archery. Kyujutsu was war archery. That was long defunct with the abolishment of the samurai. And Kyudo is a modern reinvention, basically. It's traditional Zen archery. It's not meant to be war archery. But Kyudo is very ceremonial. It's not about hitting a target. It's about following the steps and understanding the spirituality and the focus and the inner peace that comes with shooting. The way you walk into the hall, the way you sit down, the way you kneel, the way you knock the arrows, the way you bring your bow up, all these things have significance. So it's not about trying to hit the target. It's about the process, the inner process of doing a shot. So if you're talking about why traditional archery and Kyudo are different, traditional archery is about shooting, hitting a target. Kyudo is about the process. So they're very, very different things. And the last question from the official list is from Anonymous. If I leave my bow unstrung for a while, could the string unwind and affect the tiller? Yes, it can. This is a very common question with the strings. If you unstring the bow, basically, hey, we'll get Barbie V1, okay? So what can happen... I've sealed all these strings. Alright, we'll try and get this one off somehow. But there are a couple of things you can do. Let me get a sharp object and I'll demonstrate. Is an easy one here somewhere? Got quite a few of my friend in front of it. This is all these 66-inch strings that we made but we didn't use because they have no 66-inch bows. And that's a shame because we spent so much time making these together. But the new strings on the new bows are fantastic. In case you haven't seen the Facebook post, they look really good. We've named the bows, I've written names on. People really like it, actually. They really like watermelon. It's been a favorite. But yeah, turned out really well. So here's your string. So let's say you're unstringing it. It's lying on your bag. Yes, it can unwind, and yes, it will change your brace height. How do you stop this? There are a couple of ways. One way is to, when you fold the string, is to use a clip. Use a peg or a paper clip or any kind of clip to hold the string in place. So do we have any clips here? Alright, this is an example, random example. So use a peg, paper clip, or even one of these alligator clips. Alright, so that's one way you can stop the string unwinding, is you fold it up and then you use a clip like this to keep the string together. This is a very small one, it's not going to work. So basically something like that. With a bigger clip, you can do that. Pegs work fine. Plastic clips work fine. Hair clips work fine. That's one way. If you don't have a clip, another way you can do this is to, once you've twisted your string, get the two ends, put them into each other. So you put one like that, and then you feed that into the same loop there. So the loops go into each other like that. And then that basically forms like a reef knot sort of thing. And then it can't unwind because they're tied together. So you then fold it up there and you can put it into your tube or your bag and it will unwind. Do bear in mind that when you remove the string, it is likely that it will unwind while you're handling it rather than while in storage. What I've been doing recently, I don't bother with that because when you wax the string, it tends to stay in place. But what I've been doing with a wax string is that you basically fold it up there and I just give it a few twists like that. And that kind of puts everything in one little knot there. Not the best way, but it's pretty and colorful. Again, most of the unwinding happens when you handle it, not when you store it. But if you just chuck it in your bag like that, then of course it will become one and tangled up. But if you just stop if you wrap the ends around each other like this, then you have different ways to stop the string from moving. And that is the end of the YouTube and Facebook questions. Wow, I am puffed, guys. Whew. Okay, and now comes the live Q&A. So, if you have questions, tag me, and I will answer. There's a ton of stuff happening here. I'm gonna scroll up just for a bit. And you may ask, social engineering, how long should a shooting session be for practice? anything less than an hour, in my opinion, isn't worth it. Go for 2 hours, if not 3. That's a proper round, really. And the more importantly, have a focus. At my club, we're trying to push for more people to shoot rounds. It's taken years to get people actually scoring because people turn up and they just shoot. There's nothing wrong with that. If you just want to shoot because you want to enjoy archery, there's nothing wrong with that. But it's not hard for someone to make the first steps in self-improvement. And you do that by putting yourself in a situation where you will grow. If all you're doing is shooting 10 meters for like an hour a day, you're not really improving much. You need to set goals for yourself. How do you know you're getting better? You need to actually be accountable for your training, because otherwise you're going to say, I'm doing okay, but you have no metric to measure it by. So not only should you train longer sessions where possible, but also do benchmarks, do rounds. You know, it's much more helpful. Sorry, it's going through the chat again quickly. Ah, good shot, man. A War Thunder question. You have a hard time with the shooting enemies with the Panther. The Panther you've got to watch out for, because the Panther has a very high penetrating gun, but weak damage. It does have the punch of an 88mm gun, although the penetration is comparable. It's a good tank, but you need to recognize weak spots. It's kind of like a Panzer IV. It's a good gun if you know where to aim. So don't try to be fancy by aiming at tanks you can't realistically defeat, but you have to know which tank you can easily one shot. If you see a Sherman, Panther goes through it. See a T-34, the Panther goes through it. But if you're shooting a heavy tank, you've got to be more advantageous. Try to flank where possible. The Panther is very slow, I know that. But try to play from a long range, mid range role and engage tanks which aren't looking at you, especially ones showing their flanks or showing their fronts. But it's not an easy tank to play, but it's a very powerful tank once you get the hang of it. Play hunter, target materials, or target mat. You mean target button? What's the mean with target mat? I missed a question from Ati Murd there, I think. Was that a learning question? I missed that. Oh, here we go. Sorry. Please tell me, as a coach, what do you think of somebody that is not certified to teach archery to other people? Is it bad? Teaching in what sense? Is this someone at a club who is teaching without being qualified? Or is this a private business owner or private range owner who has been self-taught and is teaching people? Or is this someone like a friend sharing advice? It's the same for a lot of things. The more structured learning you have, the easier it is for you to teach concepts to other people. If all you've done is figure it out through trial and error, then you don't have a reliable learning pathway. So what may work for you may not work for somebody else, but you lack the mentality to explain to someone how it works. That's why a self-taught instructor isn't a good example of this is, look, I'm a self-taught pianist, right? So I can play songs on piano, not right now, because I still crap on my piano, but I can play songs on piano, but I can't teach someone how to play piano. And I say this because as a teacher, our courses at university teach us how to teach. They don't just teach us what we have to teach, they teach us how to teach it. When you don't have that background, that educational background, how do you teach somebody else? So a self-trained coach is basically showing someone how they shoot, but not really teaching them. So that's where you've got to be careful. Can a self-taught archer become a qualified instructor? Yes, of course. But can a self-taught archer become a good coach? That is a very big gap there. So I think that it's not an automatic disqualifier, but someone who you can easily tell someone who is self-taught versus someone who has received some kind of training or instruction. Very different things. Remember, I'm not self-taught archery. I have been trained in archery. That's different. But yeah, it's not a reliable pathway. So do keep that in mind. Where else? A sim vine. I know you've mentioned it's hard to say about pick a video, but I'm consistently shooting off to top left quadrant. Any suggestions? I can't answer this question, Sim. Like, I have to see you shoot, because I can throw every possible problem at you. If you're shooting top left, that way, if you're shooting that way, it could be anything. It could mean that your knocking point is too low and your spines are too stiff. It could mean that. It could mean that you're releasing the wrong way, so you're not shooting consistently. It could mean you're aiming the wrong spot. I can't tell you. And the causes are so wide that I might as well not tell you anything, because I could be leading you down the wrong path. As an instructor, I don't want to tell you something and get you fixated on a possible problem when in fact that isn't a problem at all. So you really have to get someone to see you shoot. You can't diagnose problems remotely like that. That's not how archery works. Alright. What kind of training you need if you really focus on heavy draw weights? SPTs. I watched my video from like 20 minutes ago, and I go through SPTs. That will help build your strength. Player Hunter, no love for planes. I used to play planes a lot, but for me, like again, a lot of planes aren't very balanced. It's just flying around, bombing and climbing. It's what planes is about. It's, you know, but I don't really enjoy that kind of gameplay. I'm not sure about target. Do you mean target butt, like target material? I'm not sure what you mean by target mat. But if you're talking about like the target butt, then you might want to use, depends on what your material, like DIY, cardboard clamped together works well. Carpet clamped together works well. A box filled densely with clothing and plastic wrap and other crap works well. Extra rubber wetsuit material piled in works well. The main thing is density. You want to have a box or a target which is very dense, so your arrows don't fly through. Iron Pirate. What is my personal ideal length for time to hold a full draw? No more than 2 seconds. 2 to 2.5 seconds. It's basically a shot process. If I hold for longer than that, I'm basically struggling to get through the clicker. I'm not expanding well, or I'm target panicking. Is there a problem hurrying your shots? When you use a clicker, you don't hurry your shot. You know when you feel right. It's more a problem when you go from clicker to no clicker. So, for example, when I went to trad barebow, I had a problem of releasing too soon as I reached my anchor. So I had to remember to anchor, hold, and expand without the assistance of the clicker. But yeah, you can shoot too quickly. That is a problem because more often than not, it's a shot you regret. By the way, I'm getting some thumb rings coming in. Vermo Archery got in touch with me. They're sending me a couple of rings. So I'll have some new toys to play with on my horse bows. I'll be reviewing thumb rings. What do you think? Man, I'm so tired. Wow. I've had a pretty rough day, by the way. I didn't update my personal life, for those who were asking. I've had a really bad day. Or not, it wasn't bad, but rough day. I might mention it at a different time, but I'm actually feeling really sleepy. It's why I'm rushing through this, because I'm actually droopy-eyed. Not sure. I was actually dreading this live stream because it's been such a rough day. But here we are. Sorry, back to a question. Do I go to the Australian outback? No, I don't. The outback space in the desert, middle of nowhere. No. Yeah, Player Hunter. Yeah, like nothing beats being 6Ks up in the air. If no enemy fighters, it's boring. I don't find it exciting. You're basically flying in a straight line to the base and bombing. They've tried to change it since to make it a bit more fair and balanced, but I don't find it fun. Beginner compound bows for less than $600. Easy choice would be the I'm tired. Sorry, I blanked out there. Compound bows for under 600. That's plenty of budget. I would recommend compound bows like the Diamond Infinite Edge or any diamond bow. They're great bows made by Matthews. The Matthews Diamond Infinite Edge is one of the most recommended ones. Very flexible draw weight. I'd avoid our cheaper bows like the toe points. I saw a kid bring a toe point to the club today. I felt really bad for him because he wanted to. He never done archery before. He never shot a bow, and he wanted to bring his toe point M1, and the M1 is a kind of a junior bow. Unfortunately, it was wound all the way up to maximum. It was like 60 pound, 50 pound. I couldn't pull it back, and he was like 11 years old, so he couldn't pull it back at all. He couldn't even try. Yeah, we put him on a 12-pound club recurve, and he was having a ball. He was having so much fun. We recommend that he take the bow to a pro shop and get it set up for him, draw length and draw weight. Unfortunately, like I don't have compound experience, so I couldn't set up for him. Told him to go to a shop and get it set up there. Better that a shop does it rather than I do it. Plus, I was running a whole line, so I couldn't sit down and tinker with the compound bow. Somebody else could. It's an easy thing to do, but best thing to do is get it from the shop. So it's an eBay purchase. Wasn't the best idea. Bad. I don't want to break his spirit, so you can't use it. But he couldn't use it. Breathing. Breathe out. If you breathe in and hold your breath, your shot goes off. Because remember, archery involves a couple of things. Heart rate and shoulder level. Okay? So if you breathe in and you hold your breath, you go... What happens is your diaphragm lifts and so do your shoulders. So you're more likely to throw yourself... Sorry, the muscle spasm there. You're more likely to throw yourself out of alignment by breathing in. If you go... It might feel stronger, but you naturally lift your shoulders when you breathe in. That's one problem. The second problem is that your heart rate increases. Especially if you're shooting long distance and you're trying to keep the sight floating on target. Your blood rate will go up, your heart rate will go up as you hold your breath. You go... And as you're starting to reach the peak of your breath holding, then your heart will start pumping more, and that will mean more fluctuation in your hold. So, what we recommend is you breathe out for the complete opposite. You breathe out, your shoulders drop naturally. Also helps you relax. So you shoot on the exhale, not on the inhale. You might inhale before you draw. You exhale when you draw. Have I done any 3D or field? I actually haven't. So I have no advice really. I know people in my club do. We've got a state champion now, but I personally have no experience with field and 3D. All right, this is the final call for questions. I'm getting really tired. I've had like 3 hours of sleep, and I've run the club for 2 hours plus a 1 hour meeting. We had a speech afternoon for some of our students competing, and that was all the last minute stuff, and we had like 3 hours of that. I'm exhausted right now, so I reckon I've been playing Kingdom Come Deliverance, and it's been a very fun game, but I think I've reached the end of my stamina today, so we'll call last questions, and then we'll start closing it up. Does Australia still have a problem with invasive species? Yes, we do. Yeah, people do hunt rabbits and boars. And as invasive species, you don't need a license because they're pests. Yeah, it doesn't help that it's still pretty humid. So yeah, it's time for a good night's sleep, I reckon. Man, that is a long day. I haven't shot today yet. I've largely given up shooting on Saturday because I run the instruction program, so I've largely given up shooting. I'll shoot Sundays and every other possible day, but I can't shoot during Saturdays, which is the whole this is my archery day, and the fact that it's not, that's gonna throw me off. Okay, I reckon I will head off. It's a relatively short live stream, only an hour or so, which is not bad. It's manageable. We crammed a lot of questions into one video, but hopefully that was helpful to you. I'm losing a bit of focus, so time to head off, I reckon. For those who play Kingdom Come Deliverance, when your character starts getting that energy level low, below 50%. Your character starts going like that, your eyes start drooping. I did a video, and I haven't done it yet, for my archery pop shots. I basically did a video of me shooting while drunk and me shooting while tired. And look, the game, by the way, I find to be so authentic and realistic. They get all the subtle things right. And all the way down to shooting a warbow when you're half asleep. I know what that feels like, well, at least the sleeping part. So I do recommend Kingdom Come Deliverance. I've been playing a lot recently, getting the hang of it now. Beautiful game, very good, recommended. Do I dream of archery? No, I don't. This is NUSensei. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.